All right, well, here I am with Marianne Robb. If you watched the Lori Vallow Daybell trial with Brandon Boudreaux over the past week or so, you saw her on the stand. She's also been in some body camera police videos that have been released over the years. And she's one person who I've been really interested in interviewing just because of those videos and because she was involved in this case and also once she took the stand and testified. So Marianne, so good to see you.
Well, thank you.
Miss Robb, I should say. You're now retired from the police department, over 30 years in law enforcement, so you saw a lot.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Did you ever see anything like this case?
Not at all. This was a very interesting case.
Let's go back to when you first got involved. It was actually while Charles Vallow was still alive, right?
That is correct, yeah.
What happened? Tell me about that.
Well, we got a call of a gentleman that was at one of our hotels in Gilbert, just off of Val Vista and the freeway, and he wanted us to do a welfare check on his kids and his ex-wife, Lori Vallow. So I get to the scene, and I had my partner there, and our sergeant was on his way. And I spoke with this gentleman, later found out it was Charles Vallow, and he was explaining that his ex-wife had some mental issues, and he was worried about his children's welfare with her. And supposedly she was staying at the hotel. He wanted us to go up to the hotel room, knock on the door, maybe go in, check the welfare of her and the kids. And I said, well, we can knock on the door, but we can't just go into a room. You know, there's no reason for it. Well, we did a little bit more investigation, come to find out the kids were already in school. So we didn't have to worry about the kids, they were safe. And so we had to, where's Lori? Well, he was looking to do an involuntary committal on her because he felt that she had some kind of mental problems, if that's it.
Like religious delusions?
Well, that I didn't know.
Okay.
It was more, she just had mental breakdowns. And he just said that she is basically talking kind of weird, but I didn't know anything about this religious part on that. And he said he wants to get her help. Because again, he's in fear of if his kids are living with him. Now, he did explain that he lives in Texas now. He was only coming here. He just got off a plane, went to Sky Harbor Airport, just got in from there, and that he was just checking on his kids and spend some time with them. So I explained to him that, no, we can't go up to the room. We can't just break in and check on her welfare. We can knock on the door, but that's it. I said, but there is another way. You can get an involuntary committal through the county, Maricopa County, and that's through Community Bridges, get an involuntary committal. If a psychiatrist signs off on it, we'll get the paperwork, we'll go. Now, she lived in Chandler. So we told them, when you get the paperwork, go to Chandler PD, and they will go to the house, pick her up, and they will do what they call a 72 hour hold or an evaluation on her. Mm-hmm. So when we talked about that, my sergeant arrived, and I basically let them take over the talking to Charles. Right. And I just stayed back. So I just know that he left. I know he was going to go down the Community Bridges to go get the involuntary committal. That's where he says he was headed. So that's as far as we went on that call with him. I never had any interaction with him again. I, again, had no idea who he was, who Lori Vallow was. Everything was happening in Chandler. And that was the only interaction I ever had with him.
Did it seem like kind of a routine call?
Yes, very.
Versus the calls you get all the time. It's he was worried about his wife. She needed mental help. You check on Tylee and JJ, they're okay, they're in school, and it was more like, this is what you need to do, go do it.
Exactly. I was on the crisis intervention team, the CIT team, so I knew I would get a lot of these type of calls. And I knew that what he was asking for was an involuntary committal. Great, no problem at all. I explained the steps that he needed to take, and the last I talked to him, he was headed down to Community Bridges to fill out the forms and do what is necessary to get an involuntary committal for Lori.
Do you remember when you learned he had been killed?
Yeah, I did when I did the investigation with Brandon Boudreau.
Okay, so let's fast forward to that.
Okay.
So that's in October. You're working and you get a call from dispatch saying someone's been shot at?
Well, yeah, it was shots fired. And they explained that the victim, who I didn't know who it was at the time, was driving home. And as he was about to turn into his driveway on a street, that there was a green Jeep that was parked on the roadway. And the victim saw the back window of the Jeep pop open. And he saw this long gun, this gun, kind of coming out of the back of the Jeep, and then he heard a loud bang. Said that the victim, or reporting party, he drove west to the next street and then stopped. And when he did that, he saw the green Jeep go quickly past him, speeding past him, down a couple of the side streets in this neighborhood. He followed the Jeep until the Jeep went south on one of the neighborhood streets to where the only place that could have been is it could have came out onto Pecos. So the reporting person said that he went back into his driveway and was waiting for the police at the time. Now,
and you're getting all this from the dispatcher?
This is all coming from the dispatch. Now, we're thinking, BB gun, what right. Could it have been? It could, maybe a BB gun, some kids maybe be out there, not a paintball gun, but a pellet gun. We didn't know because he said something about his window shattering, but that was it. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's check it out. So I drove up to the house. He was kind of out on the phone. He was just about right on the street, just out on the street, maybe a couple of feet from the sidewalk. So I get out of my patrol car, I walk up to him, and I says, well, hey, what's going on? And he explained that what happened is he was coming back into his driveway, driving into the driveway, the green Jeep, the window go up, and then he said that he saw that it looked like a muzzle. So he didn't know if it was like a silencer or whatever. He just says he was like a muzzle. And then he heard a loud bang, and that's when the window shattered. Well, it freaked him out. He didn't want to go into his house, so that's why he sped off down south or west on his road, and then parked on the next street over and just stopped and got on the phone and called 911 right away. Yeah. And that's when he said that the green Jeep passed him. Now, he knew they had Texas plates. Like, okay, great, okay. And he followed the Jeep out to the just before his street that he lived on, Phelps, and he saw the green Jeep and he figured, okay, it's gone, it's long gone, and then that's when he went into, his driveway and basically waited for the police to arrive.
So you go over to the car, right?
Yes.
When you get there, you go to the car, and I think either you testified or I saw on the body camera footage where you said, I think this is the real thing. This is real, not a BB gun.
Oh, yeah. When I saw that bullet hole, no, it's not a BB gun.
How big was it?
I'm going to say it was, I don't know. I didn't measure. I know the other guys measured, but maybe...
Size of a quarter?
No. Maybe a nickel.
Okay.
A little bit bigger than a nickel, but definitely wasn't a quarter. And I looked at it, I'm like, okay, first of all, I knew this was definitely a rifle. It matched what he said. He described that was in the back of the Jeep. Mm-hmm. That was the long barrel. And then when I said, okay, and then you look at the hole in the Jeep or the Tesla frame, you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely a rifle round. When Lori asked me, well, how big do you think it was or what kind of caliber? Well, I shoot a 30-06. I've shot a 7 mag, and I would say it's as big as I would say a 30-06 round. It was a pretty good size round.
And then when you tell him this is real, that's when you testify that he started to shake. I mean, he hit him, right? It did. He was kind of listening to me. I was kind of talking in a way to talking to myself, right. Talking to my camera and going, yeah, this is definitely a bullet hole, and I'm kind of doing everything. I didn't want to freak him out. Right.
In time, we were going to talk about it, but right now, let me just do my investigation before I make any decisions, any assumptions. It's like, let's get the evidence. Let's see what I have. So I went and I'm kind of using my flashlight and I'm using my pen to try to see the trajectory, if I could say it right, of where the the bullet could have gone. You know, which way did it travel through the car? Did it actually exit the car? So that's why I was using my pen, just to kind of see which way it traveled. And I'm doing all that. And I'm like, yeah, so he's hearing me say this. Mm-hmm. So I told him, I says, hey, I'll be right back. I go to my patrol car. I get on the phone. I talk to my partner, because we were sitting together when we got the call. And when I went and talked to him, I said, and you could hear it on the phone on my body cam, yeah, this isn't a BB gun. This is a bullet. Somebody did shoot at him. So I asked him if he'd come to the scene. We need to now make this a crime scene. We've got something. Again, still, I didn't know anything about Charles Vallow, Lori Vallow, whatever happened in Chandler. I didn't know any of this.
Right.
I just said, you know, okay, what enemies do you have? You know, who did you make mad that they would try to do this to you? So get out of my patrol car, or get back out. And my fellow officer, my partner, shows up and he's talking to Brandon, and I walk up and I'm, you know, writing notes and everything. And that's when I said, you know, we're all looking at the bullet hole and everything. And that's when Brandon says, I need to sit down, because I'm asking him some questions. He goes, give me a minute. I just need a minute. And then he sits down. And I'm like, that's why I said, do you want a chair? Do you want me to call anybody for you? Do you want a bottle of water? What do you need? Mm-hmm. Because I think it was hitting him at that point. But I wasn't getting all excited. Oh my gosh, it's a bullet hole, and it almost hit you. I mean, it's only 2 inches above. That's not what I do. That's not what a police officer does in an investigation. We have to keep everything calm. Yeah, do we have a possible attempted homicide? Yeah, I would say so. But you don't say that. We contact supervisors. We explained what we had. Supervisors showed up. We roped off the scene with crime scene tape. We were calling in detectives. We were calling in more officers to canvass the area, see if any of the neighbors had any door cameras or any kind of cameras on their house. So at that point, we knew we had a crime that occurred.
You said, do you have any enemies? And you remember what he told you?
Little bit. It's been a while, but I looked at the body cam, but he made a comment about his soon-to-be ex-wife, Melanie, and her aunt and brother, and they were mad about him helping Charles with the court case. And I think it was for the child custody.
Yeah. So,
you know, and I'm like, okay. And he said, and then he explained how Lori and her brother, Cox. Alex Cox, killed Lori's husband. Charles. And I'm like, okay. And I said, where did this happen? He says, in Chandler. Okay. Still didn't hit me.
Yeah, you're not even thinking.
Not even thinking. I'm like, okay, it's Chandler.
Right.
Okay, great.
Right.
Well, then I would say that next time I talked to him, he explained more about Melanie and her aunt, Lori Vallow, and Charles, and they started talking about the child custody of the kids, and that I want to say that Charles came in from Texas to go see his children, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, it hit me. Wait a minute, Charles Vallow came in from Texas to check on his kids. Oh, wow. And a light bulb finally went off. I'm like...
Was it right there at that scene?
It was, but it was later. Yeah.
But you knew that morning.
Oh, I knew that morning. It was when I was talking to, went back. Detectives, everybody were there. So I was kind of, calming down a little bit, and I was writing all my notes. But when he explained that to me, it was like, holy cow. I interviewed him, and I don't remember how many months ago or how many weeks before that. I'm like, I talked to him. He's the one who wanted the involuntary committal on Lori, and when she was staying in Gilbert. It floored me that this all happened. I don't remember how many months ago. I want to say maybe a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was earlier in the year, like January, February, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, at least 6 months because he was killed in July.
Okay, it must have been because I think I was wearing, because when I interviewed him, I remember seeing body cam, I think I was wearing long sleeves.
Long sleeves, so I think it was January,
yeah,
February.
Okay. So it
so this
hit
was
me.
10 months earlier, 9 months earlier.
Yeah, it blew me away. I'm like,
did you say anything to Brandon? Like,
oh, no.
Yeah,
that's something, no. I would never say that.
Right.
Because I might talk to my fellow officers off camera.
Right.
But there is no way in the world I would ever tell Brandon about that. There's no reason for it.
Right. So then you realize you responded to the Charles call. He's now dead. And now you're here at this scene, and it looks like this young man has been shot at and attempted to be killed. But at that point, you give it to the detectives?
Yes. Yeah. The supervisor said he assigned me to, after we set up the crime scene, Brandon had a friend come in, a couple of his business partners. So they arrived, and what we did was, because we had the crime scene and now the detectives are taking over, we had Brandon and his two friends move across the street onto the neighbor's lawn outside of the crime scene. So my job was just kind of just hang with them in case they needed anything or they had questions or anything like that. So I just sat with them or stood with them. And then detectives took over, and then I was pretty much done with the case. And they took over. So if the supervisor had a question for me, great, fantastic. But I was pretty much done with the initial. Now I'm sitting back, and in case anything is needed, that's when I would help them out, pretty much. So
do you remember when you found out that the children were missing, JJ and Tylee?
I don't remember ever getting that information.
Do you remember finding out that they were dead?
Oh gosh, yeah. I was sick because I knew that the investigation was before that happened, I knew that she moved up to Idaho and met this Chad Daybell guy, and then next thing you know, Chad Daybell's wife was killed, and then Chad and Lori got together, and I'm like, wow,
okay. So you're learning all this stuff.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing this, and this was just maybe a month or so after Brandon's deal.
Right.
I'm starting, because the name Vallow starts coming up, you hear on the news.
Right.
So I don't watch the news, but I would put it little blips. I would hear little blips on what's going on. And then you hear that the kids are missing. And I guess that Charles, I believe it was, or a family member, I think the grandmother or grandfather was contacting Gilbert PD on some things, and of course Chandler, trying to look, where are the kids? I guess Lori said they were here in Arizona visiting.
Right, a friend, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just going crazy, so people were trying to contact this friend and everything else. I was not involved in any of those when they came to Gilbert for that. Okay. That was more North Gilbert. But I was just listening in, and then all of a sudden they said the kids are missing. And then they arrest Lori and Chad coming back from Hawaii and all, and I'm like, okay, this is screwed up. Something is wrong with this. And then you hear they found the kids, and that was sickening. That was, I was sick. My heart just bled for the grandparents. Mm-hmm. And these poor kids, they're innocent little kids that never should have happened. So, you've got feelings, and as a cop, I have things that I want to say, but you can't say them. You can think them, though.
Right.
And I just felt really bad, the grandparents. Why did they have to do that? Just give them to the grandparents. And that's it. And go live your life with Chad and have a wonderful life, do whatever the heck you want to do. Just let these kids grow up and have their life.
Right.
So, yeah, heard about that. She gets arrested. Chad gets arrested. And I'm like, great, fantastic. I never would have thought that we were going to have trials down here.
Really?
Because they were already found guilty. And again, in my line of work, I deal with tragedy and I deal with stress and all kinds of things every day. I don't want to watch the news. What's on the news? 99.9% bad. You're lucky if you have one good, happy story. And that's not something I do. I would rather watch comedies. I'd rather watch other things on TV other than tragedy and news. So I just knew little blips that they were found guilty. She's now, 3 consecutive life terms.
Right.
Fantastic, great.
Yeah, so you weren't doing a deep dive following every detail on it.
No, I had no desire to do that.
So you find out she's found guilty of 3 life terms, he's sentenced to death, and you think...
Oh, good.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I did not know that. I thought he was still... I had no idea if his trial ever...
It happened. He went all the way to trial, and a jury found him guilty and then gave him death penalty.
Good.
In Idaho. She was up for death penalty, but they took it off the table because of some procedural type stuff.
Okay.
But, so you're thinking, okay, they're doing the trials in Idaho. They won't bring it down here. No,
she's already found guilty. And then I'm thinking, yeah, there were crimes here, but, she's already found guilty. Why, I hate to say it, but why waste taxpayers' money bringing her here, letting her do a show here, basically, and not spend the rest of her life in jail up there in Idaho? Well, county attorney explained it, and it's totally understandable. I just wasn't looking at it that way. The family of Charles Vallow should get closure. They should see justice happen. Totally understand it. Brandon needs justice. He needs to see this all the way through and get closure. So I said, that makes total sense. I'm not looking at it that way. I'm looking at this is going to be a circus for her. And it was. She was having a ball. And it was just that, okay. And I didn't really follow the case with her, with the murder of Charles. Because that was Chandler. Again, I didn't really follow that one. And then when I got subpoenaed for Brandon's case, I says, okay, that makes total sense that I'll be in part of dealing with Brandon's case.
Right. And you've testified in trials before.
Oh, numerous, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So were you nervous at all, or?
I was a little bit because it was 5 years ago. I've been retired almost 4 years. And I had to really look at my body cam. This was a weird case. And a lot of times, officers will remember cases that are either weird or very stressful or very sad. Unfortunately, in the back of our mind, we remember certain cases. I remembered the case, but I didn't remember specifics. So I really had to kind of study up on what exactly I did throughout that case.
And then you were able to do that. When you heard she was her own attorney and would be cross-examining you, what did you think?
It was humorous. There are a lot of people that try to represent themselves, and it never works out. Whether it's traffic court or criminal court, it's kind of, I hate to say it, but I have to say it, and I can't, I'm retired. It's comical. These people have no clue on the law. And I don't know why they even think they can try to represent themselves. But again, Lori was definitely a different type person. And what she was doing was she had a smile on her face the whole time. She had this weird smirk on her face the whole time that she didn't care. She loved the limelight. She enjoyed that. She didn't care if she was probably convicted or not. She just was having a ball. And that kind of irritated me that they allowed her to basically for, 2 months? Approximately 2 months' trial here in Arizona.
Combined, right?
Yeah, combined. that wearing regular clothes, wearing makeup, having her hair done, and just having a fun time in court. And you just kind of want to laugh in a way. You're like, this is entertainment almost for her. And you laugh because of what she's doing, and like you're gonna embarrass yourself in court. But you're pissed off that the taxpayers' money, and she is not sitting behind I don't know what jail cells are, maybe a 10 by 10 room, sitting there in a jail cell. No, she's parading around on TV and, trying to represent herself on these cases.
That's interesting you said, because we couldn't see her face. We saw the back of her the whole time she was questioning you. So from your perspective as a witness, you're seeing her face. She was smiling at you?
Well, she was smirking. She had a smirk. She had this weird smirk on her face the whole time. And then she'd look down.
She was trying to trip you up? Or it was just her pretending to be an attorney and doing...
That's it. She had in my own experience as a police officer for 34 years, dealing with hundreds of thousands of people, this was just a joke. I think she was oblivious to what was even happening. She was just in her own little world, and she just came up with questions that were simple questions on a few of them. She just looked at my police report. So she was just smirking and just going on like it was an everyday occurrence. It wasn't that. It just seemed like it wasn't that she was like, oh, I'm going to try to trip her up. I'm going to try to do this. It wasn't. I mean, all the questions were pretty much easy questions to answer. Or if I could look at, like she said, a pukey green car, and I'm like, I don't remember saying pukey. And of course, look at my police report. It was green. It was no pukey. So she was just coming up with stuff. But of course, the hearsay, the county attorney objected to that, sustained, great. But no, I don't think she was trying to trip me up at all.
So what did you think when you heard that it took the jury less than 30 minutes?
13 minutes, that was a record. I want to say, now it might not be. It might even be.
But in your experience?
In my experience, that's a record. That it was that quick to get a conviction. But no, she had no witnesses, but there was no witnesses that she could even call that I know of.
Right.
So I heard it was just really quick on her part, and then the jury came back really quick.
Very short.
Yeah.
Why do you think people are so fascinated by this case? You've done cases for 34 years, What is it about this one that has the whole world watching, and Netflix docuseries and...
I don't know. I'm not sure on that. It's kind of the Jodi Arias case. Everybody was all... No. That was a Mesa case. That was Mesa. Actually, okay. Where I live, that was only a few miles from where I live.
Oh, wow.
In Mesa. But no, that was a Mesa case. It's like watching a thriller movie, if this makes any sense. And you might want to cut and paste this part because I'm really at a loss on this one.
Because you yourself, you're not into it. This was
no,
your job.
And that's the
thing. This was
thing.
Real life. Now, so maybe you don't know why they're into it.
No, I don't want to be part of this kind of thing. Like I said, I see so much drama, so much horrible tragedy at work. I don't want to come back. But I think people that don't deal with tragedy all day long for 34 years, this is a little excitement in their life. And I apologize. I don't mean to make anybody mad or, I'm not...
dissing them or...
dissing the folks. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just, kind of looking at it as a police officer. I like happy stuff. I don't want the sad. Also, I think people made sure, because of what she did to her kids and to Charles and to all these other people, they wanted to make sure that she got what she deserved, that the innocent folks got the justice. And it would have been great if she did get the death penalty. But I think they wanted to support the family of the kids, of Charles, of Brandon, and say, all right, good, she's going to get what she deserves.
Yeah.
But, people love thrillers.
Right.
And, this is like a movie. It's real life. It's craziness, but you don't, and I'm glad that there aren't these types of cases every year, every week. It's few and far between. At least at what we know. Maybe somewhere there is a lot more cases like this. But I'm glad we don't have these kind of cases all the time. And it's sad that we even have to deal with these kind of cases. But, unfortunately, there's people out there that, oblivious to other folks. I don't know how to explain it.
Narcissistic. They don't care about anyone else.
Yeah, they don't.
Right.
It's just them and whatever they are in their minds that they are being either told or what they believe. That is the one and only thing. And if what their religion is, or if there is whatever their belief is, then they're going to continue. They're not going to look at, wait a minute, is that right or wrong? There is no right or wrong with these folks.
Yeah. Do you miss police work?
I miss my guys. I miss my team. I miss the folks that I work with. And actually, I miss the citizens. The citizens were wonderful with us. They were so pro-police. And I love the citizens. I don't miss the politics. And a lot of the administration. And I don't miss that. But I really do. I miss the citizens, and I really do miss my guys that I work with.
But you are keeping busy, from what you were telling me before the interview. Do you want to talk about that?
I can.
You started a really unique thing, in my opinion, that for police officers who experience abnormal experiences. Tell me about that.
Exactly. My partner, Dave Rich, who is also a retired police officer from Gilbert, we started an organization called UAP PD. Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon PD for Police Department. And we started this organization because we know that there are law enforcement officers and first responders that have seen things that they can't explain. And the things that they see is, could it be a light in the sky that does some weird things that are like, oh, what just happened? Or maybe a paranormal experience. When they go, whether on a call, on duty, off duty, they see something and they can't explain that. Or if they see what we call a cryptid, which might be a skinwalker, a Bigfoot, something like that. They see something, they don't talk about it because of the stigma. They don't want to be considered, oh, that's a crazy cop. And that they will be ridiculed by their fellow officers, by their supervisors. So they don't say anything about that. And it stresses them out. So we want them to understand that there is what I call a safe zone for law enforcement, first responders to come talk to us, share their experiences with us, know that we are there to be there with them. They're not crazy. They're not going to lose their career. That they can safely talk about their experiences and, again, know that there's somebody in their corner.
Yeah, because you could think if you experience something like that, you're going to say, people are going to think I'm nuts. People are going to think I'm crazy, and I don't want to. I'm nervous to talk. But if you have a place like your organization,
right.
Where can people get more information about that?
Well, they can come onto our website, which is uap-pd.com. Okay. You got to put that little dash in between UAP and PD. We do have a Facebook page also, UAP PD. We do have where it says contact us at the bottom of our website. Please contact us. If someone does not feel comfortable talking to us over the phone, I'll be more than happy to travel wherever I need to go in the U.S. to meet with these folks one-on-one and get their story from them.
Have you had officers actually contact you?
We've had quite a few. We've got about 60 stories right now.
Wow.
And a lot of them are stories that are from the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, because there was no place for them to go. And they've held on to that story for that many years. Here's 2025. This was 1995. And there was no place, and it stressed them out. Right, and it just kept it inside of them. We definitely want people to contact us. We know that there are law enforcement officers out there, first responders, that have held on for stories for so many years because there wasn't anywhere to go and share their encounters with somebody that is on the same level, that is also a law enforcement officer. One of the case in points that we tell people is my partner actually had a case where he investigated an incident that happened in Gilbert. He did a thorough investigation. He wrote a report, but the next day he was called upstairs by a sergeant. He was ridiculed by the sergeant. He was told he was a liar. He was making this stuff up.
Can you say what was in the report?
It was a 911 call. It was something that called 911 into our police department from a high school that he was a school resource officer in. This happened at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. We have the video, the surveillance video from 6 a.m. to after the officers got to the school to go do a check. There's nobody there, period. I mean, absolutely nobody there. He did a thorough investigation to find out, okay, was somebody making a joke? Did somebody get into maybe the phone lines that are out by the street? No, there were cobwebs all through there, so nobody got in there. Could they have gone to another building and used a phone from another classroom? Nope, that didn't happen. So we've also had the voice analyzed. It wasn't a human voice. So what could it have been? 2017, there's no CG, there's no AI. So you're like, what could it have been? So he did what he could do. And to get called upstairs and be told a liar when this sergeant had the video and the audio. He's not lying. So for 6 years, my partner had to keep quiet, and the fear of if somebody ever brought it up, would he lose his job? He had a young family. He needed that 6 years. He needed to be able to retire. So he kept it inside. The stress interfered with his family life, with his health, with his career. But after, the 6 years, 2023 occurred, and we started talking about the incidences that happen with law enforcement, where they have something that they can't explain. I mean, you get the pilots now, you hear about this stuff going on with the military pilots and commercial, where they're starting to talk about it. Not a lot, but they're starting to. Well, law enforcement is not talking. They're still not talking.
Name of the website again?
It's uap-pd.com.
Okay. Fascinating.
Well,
Marianne, thank you so much for chatting with me. Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I thank you for doing this. It was a strange case, and I appreciate all the follow-up you're doing, because I know people would like to know, what has happened. Okay, the court cases are done. I'm assuming you're going to go further and see everything that goes until she's in that jail cell. Right. I'm assuming you're going to continue, her steps on what she does.
The appeals and all that.
Yes, and I know she'll be convicted sometime in July. Yes, so I appreciate you keeping up with this story, and I know that the folks out there following the story, if it was not for you, they would have no clue. And I do appreciate you coming out from Idaho and doing this with us, and I appreciate your time here.